Welcome back, Mr. Goodberry. The First Star Logistics studio is fully equipped and ready to record.
Welcome back to Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. I'm your host, Joe Goodberry, and this is episode 119. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, on X, at First Star Log, and at Joe Goodberry, but especially First Star. Hit up their page, because this week you're going to want to get in on the 2 Xboxes that they're giving away. They're wrapped in orange. They got the Bengals logo on them. They got orange controllers. You're going to want to tune in to the Jake and Joe post-game show right after the Bengals Ravens 1 o'clock game. So 4:30-ish. Tune into that. That's our live reaction show. It's been a big hit so far. Jake Lisco and I will break down the game, give our thoughts on what we saw, the biggest takeaways, as we have a big battle this week. It's funny that because the Bengals are 1-3, that they've got a chance to make a statement with this game. And they've got a chance to get back into this thing and get back into the fight. And yeah, I know last week was, the first win of the season, and it's not where you want to be when you're 0-3, and you should have probably have won a couple of these games. But the Chiefs win in a game that one out of, I think it was 95 teams have ever won. And then you get into the Commanders game where neither team punts, and that's like a 1-200 game. And the Bengals lose that one as well. So maybe the record is worse than they actually are. You take care of the Panthers, which we expect to be a bad team, but still, this game represents an opportunity to not just get to 2-3 and then you're okay. You can still fight for it. Maybe the 1 seed is a little out of reach, but the division's within reach. A wild card spot is within reach, but it would be a statement, right? To go and handle the Ravens, who just handled the Bills, and maybe that's part of it. Maybe the Ravens are coming down off a high. They kind of needed that win as well. Against the Buffalo Bills, and they handled them completely. I watched that game. They ran it down their throats, and Buffalo couldn't do a thing about it. Buffalo is typically, if they have a weakness on defense, it's physical running teams. We saw that firsthand in that playoff game, Bengals-Bills, in 2022 divisional round, and it's been the case for them for a long time, so the Ravens leaned into it. Now, what's the issue for the Bengals, right? Where are they at 1-3? Sure, they have a chance to get back into it, but what is this team after 1 month? And that's the focus of today's episode of Bengals on the Brain. What do we have here? What are we looking at? What can it tell us for the rest of the year? What are the strengths and weaknesses? And I think the coaches, Dan Pitcher talked this week, Zach Taylor talked this week, Lou Anarumo, and they are treading the same lines of, we're figuring out what this team is this year. What does this version look like? Even Joe Burrow hinted at it. I have to be a different leader for this team. And I have to play perfect. That's going to be one of the points we make here today on the show, is when the offense is starting to find itself, because it's not the same every year. The league year to year is different, number one. It's why I think we love football as much as we do, because it ebbs and flows. The run game may pick up 3 wide receivers, motion at the snap, Shanahan-style offenses, 3-4 defenses, Legion of Boom, whatever it is that changes the current landscape of the NFL, it has ripple effects. And sometimes it takes a year, sometimes it takes a couple years, 3 years, maybe a generation to really have an effect throughout the league. But I think for the Bengals, we saw it from 2021, where they were getting these deep outside vertical shots, to 2022, where they had to reshape their offense within that first month of the season. It started at week 3, but it really didn't take hold until about week 4, week 5 of 22, where they couldn't just pass out a shotgun and run from under center. It was too obvious. It wasn't working. They were getting cover 2 constantly at that point, and they had to figure out how to beat the cover 2. And in 2022, they ended up that year as the number 1 team in EPA against cover 2. So these changes that they've made throughout have typically worked for them, and they usually figure it out as they go. And yes, we'd like better starts, but a mark of a good team is figuring it out. And can you adapt? And can you be multiple? Can you show something new each year? And while we get to like week 1 and week 2, and we say, you know what, they can't show anything new and fire everyone and let's get out of here. The season's a wash. Well, a month later, and we're like, you know what, they actually are doing a lot of things well. And on offense, number 1, they're leading the league in 12 personnel usage. This is the team that led the league in 11 personnel usage. And if you're new to this, 11 personnel, anytime I say personnel, the first number is running back, second number is tight end. So if I say 11 personnel, that's a 1 running back, 1 tight end, which means 3 wide receivers. The Bengals are using 12 personnel now, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, which means you only have 2 receivers left. And sure, they lost Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins missed a couple of weeks. All of that contributes to it. The emergence of Eric All adds to it. The usage of Mike Gesicki, still listed as a tight end, but if you go out there with Chase, Higgins, Gesicki, and Drew Sample, well, that's 12 personnel, even if Gesicki is out at wide receiver or in the slot. So a little bit of cheating there, but what it's done for them and for their run game and for their ability to pass protect, which the offensive line and a lot of metrics right now in pass protection are top 5, whether you use like next gen stats or ESPN stats, and even PFF is much higher on their offensive line and pass blocking this year than they've been in years past. But a lot of that comes from stemming the run game and growing that into the passing game and merging the two, and how that looks when they're under center a little bit more, or when they're using Eric All as a lead blocker to run power, to run inside stuff, to get a more explosive and more efficient. We talked about this when we were watching the film, right? And I made some mention to it, and there were some comments. One that I thought was really interesting, that I said, I don't know if they're missing Joe Mixon, maybe in the red zone, maybe in the goal line areas. I talked about that with Jake Lisco on our post-game show a couple of weeks ago. But right now, they're getting extremely high efficiency from Chase Brown, right? They're getting the explosive plays, and he hasn't even ripped one off yet. We know what he can do when he rips one. I mean, there's probably a 60-yarder coming at some point. He's been very close. But the efficiency is there. He's getting 5 yards a pop. And then he is making guys miss. He is running over and through. He's running in and out. It's not just designer hit the hole type runs. He's getting to do a little bit of picking and choosing and reading, which is good and good for his development and what you want to see. And then Zach Moss has been such a pass protector and weapon in the passing game. Maybe not a weapon, a safety outlet in the passing game, that you've upgraded, I think, at running back this year. And then I think the scheme is better for the run game. I said in previous years why Mixon wasn't working and why it was a bit of a waste is because the running game and passing game were not married and they didn't look good together. And then the running scheme was not fully evolved. They couldn't do everything. They didn't have an Eric All, or Drew Sample was hurt, or they didn't have the offensive lineman, or they wouldn't get under center, whatever the case may be. The scheme is better now. And they're able to utilize these running backs to their strengths, and they're getting much more production on the ground. And what that has had, the effect that's had on the offense and the pass protection, is what everyone has said it would do. The play actions are better. The protection's better. The defense actually bringing a safety into the box so you can go over the top and hit Ja'Marr Chase on a deep ball. This is what the offense always should have been and what it always should have looked like. And I think they understand it. Clearly, they understand it because they're using it at the highest rate, 12 personnel. Even though some of that, like I said, is cheating with Mike Gesicki. But to be at that high rate, to see Eric All have a rookie impact, I mean, the guy might catch 30 balls this year. That would be huge for a rookie. When I did the projection, I think I had him at 14 catches or 15 catches, whatever it was. He's going to blow past that very soon. And while we haven't seen him yet go downfield or run after the catch much, I think those are coming. He is a good athlete. He was a good receiver. I think those, that'll tell the upside of All for the future. Is he a tight end 1? We'll find that out as the season goes, if he can catch and be a weapon in the receiving game. But at the very least, man, I love the way he's playing. I love his passion, effort he gives into every single block out there. And it's needed. Those young guys, man, create the juice and the spark for your team so often. The 2021 teams, I mean, right? Ja'Marr Chase inserted and instantly they're different. And sometimes it's a day 3 pick like Eric All was, and such of a need for them. We talked about drafting tight end. If you've been a fan of Bengals on the Brain, or if you've been following me on Twitter, we've been talking about drafting tight ends for years, and they've kept getting bypassed. And we kept saying, this will have a big impact for you, whether it's Darnell Washington or Michael Mayer or whatever, Sam Laporta. And then you finally get one in All on day 3, and instantly it looks like he can help you, and he is helping you and transforms your offense just a bit. But where are they better or worse? I think right now the offensive line's better. I think Joe Burrow still has another step to his game for his 2024 version. I think they're better at running back right now. I would say they're better at tight end right now. I think Mike Gesicki has been fine. I think he's had a couple drops that could have been big plays. Right? If he catches that one against the Chiefs, whether he's get the sun in his eyes, that drive might have been much differently. I might have ended differently. Maybe they win that game. If he catches that one in week 1, instead of it squirting out at the very end, they maybe win that game. Who knows? The offense was a bit of a wreck there in week 1 versus the Pats, but the game would have started much differently. And then I think at receiver, T. Higgins has looked really good. And the production's not huge for him yet. He doesn't have a deep ball yet. He isn't really, that's coming, though we know that is. It's always been there for T. But so far, he looks springy. He looks healthy. He's had some ball security. Like after when they blow the whistle, the ball squirted out a couple times. I'd like to see that cleaned up. Maybe that's, being inactive the first 2 weeks and getting back to it. But his breaks in and out of cuts, when your number 2 looks like that, your passing offense can come alive. And we said this after the first 2 weeks of watching film. We're like, man, you know what? They might really need T. Higgins. They may, and it's kind of sad to say because we look around the league and we're like, hey, not every team needs a T. Higgins at wide receiver too. What's this offense doing? And then you insert T. Higgins and you go, yeah, this looks all better. All of this looks instantly, Ja'Marr Chase is getting deep, right? And then you see on film, we've only got the one deep shot to Jermaine Burton, but he's winning and those plays are coming. And then Andre Yosibach lately has had a couple deep catches over the middle, especially last week. We highlighted that one on the last episode, but he also had some big ones against the Commanders as well. And if he can be a more downfield threat, which he's shown in preseason and camps, well, then there's a potential for them to be upgraded at receiver too, because they didn't have Burton as wide receiver 4 last year. And so far right now, Yoshi and Tyler Boyd are neck and neck for like targets, catches, and yards, average per catch. But Yoshi has the 3 touchdowns in the red zone. That guy knows how to get open throughout his career. And that is one of the big areas where the offense needs to get better. By all metrics, they're top 5 in pretty much everything on offense, especially when it comes to efficiency, points per play, things like that. The big thing for them on offense is we'd like to see the explosives still there, the downfield throwing still there. Without the Ja'Marr Chase breaking 3 tackles and running down the sideline. How many explosive plays do they have last game in the passing offense? And then when you get to the red zone, it's going to be so important for this team because of the defense, which we'll talk about the second half of the show. It's going to be so important for this offense to convert their drives into touchdowns rather than field goals. And it's going to be important for the offense to control the game script. And what I mean by that is getting a lead early. And, putting that first drive together, scoring a touchdown, not a field goal. Second drive, a touchdown, not a field goal, right? Set being 14-7 instead of 10-7, instead of 7-7, because currently the defense is a bottom unit in almost every metric, and we'll get to that. But what that means is 2 things. Number 1, you're not getting a lot of possessions if you're on offense. The defense is giving up too long of drives, chewing up too much clock, and we'll get to why. But what that means is you need to score more often. If you want to be a team, if you said, well, these Bengals defense isn't very good right now, and maybe some help is on the way. But as of right now, they need to score 28 plus 30 to win these games. Well, you better do it. You better score 28, which is 4 touchdowns in your 6 possessions. You don't have a lot of time to mess around. That has to be very efficient. And then you want to get to 31, you better kick a field goal in there. You want to get to 35, you better score another touchdown. And they've been close to that the last 2 weeks. They've been real close. They've only punted twice, I think it is, in 2 games, 2 being against Panthers, none against Commanders. So the offense is there, and it's doing that. But what that means is we're going to highlight the red zone play a ton. I can see that being the difference in this game when we come back to Bengals on the Brain on Tuesday for our film review episode. I wouldn't be surprised if here's the 15 red zone plays. Let's watch them and see what is going on. And one of them, and why when I started this talking about Joe Mixon and maybe missing them and leading with the running backs, is to come full circle on this. One of the things they may be missing is that power runner inside. And I was saying this all through the first 3 weeks. And then week 4, Chase Brown, man, was bursty, quick decision. I mean, his decisions have been fast. His brain might work as fast as his feet do. And if it does, That helps. We're going to look at two different types of running backs in this game. Derrick Henry, 6'3", 250, and has great long speed. He's not the quickest. He's not the most agile person. He's a freak, don't get me wrong. But sometimes these big guys, if you're older like me and you remember Brandon Jacobs, he would take time to get up to speed and be tough in the red zone and goal line situations for him to get there and create power. You need to create power with speed. You can only be big, and that only takes you so far. But watching Chase Brown create instant speed, even though he's not the biggest dude, I mean, Zach Moss isn't much bigger. So instant speed with Chase Brown at the goal line situation creates power for him. And it's going to be interesting to watch the difference between the two of them this week as these offenses both are humming for different reasons. The Bengals passing offense, but with a newfound run game. And then the Ravens, typically MVP type quarterback, aren't finding the same. Mark Andrews, right? The receivers that they've lost this offseason, they're not getting the same production there. Isaiah Likely stepped up. But it's going to be Derrick Henry, and this offensive line for the Ravens has found its footing, which I was hoping that wouldn't happen. They had a lot of question marks going into the season, and you know what? They've answered, and they've looked much better on the line. Let's flip it to the other side after halftime. Watch, but make sure you get in on our giveaway this week. We'll announce the winners, two winners, on the Jake and Joe postgame show. Xboxes, orange Bengals Xboxes, presented by First Star Logistics. They take care of me. They'll take care of you. You just got to watch and enter and retweet the tweet. That's it. They just want to, they don't want to represent. They want to show off and do their thing and give you guys cool stuff for watching. You're watching the show anyways. You might as well join up. But to talk about the defensive side and flip this over, we got a lot to talk about on the defense. But it's nothing we haven't said or that anybody hasn't said already. Number one, the good news is they've opened the 21-day window on Myles Murphy and McKinley Jackson. Premium picks spent at premium positions, defensive end, nose tackle with Murphy and Jackson. And this 21-day window, before we go too far, means they have 21 days to decide when they want to bring them to the active roster or keep them on IR for the rest of the year. Now they're already practicing, so it looks like IR for the rest of the year is off the table, but that is the process. Does that mean they'll be active this week? I'm expecting Myles Murphy to be active. It seemed like his injury was more short-term, and there was thought that he could have been ready for week 3 or week 4, but why not play it safe? This is a big investment the team has made in Myles Murphy, former first-round pick last year in 2021, and we'll start with him and what I expect we'll see. Well, Sam Hubbard's not getting it done, right? And he's gone on a little bit of a media campaign afterwards or the last few weeks saying, well, I'm injured. I've got a hamstring from camp, which he did have an injury, but he's not on the injury report now, so he's not getting any treatment for it. It just might be time for Hubbard. And I think he's still a good run defender. So I don't want to be like completely terrible. The guy's been a good player for the Bengals. He's made some huge moments. He's been a fun player and a local guy. But, I mean, at some point, that only goes so far. And we need some juice on the defensive line. We need some speed. We need someone who can pass rush, number one. And that's why I was hopeful to see something out of Osai. He got his chance. Can't say he didn't get his chance. 4 weeks. Dude, until Myles Murphy got back. Here you go. And we'll see what he does, afterwards. Now, he's still got a full season. It's not like we're cutting Joseph Osai or anything. That's, we're in dire situations at the end spot. But I expect Myles Murphy to start. And maybe he splits this week with Sam Hubbard. And maybe it's a big rotation between Hubbard, Osai, and Murphy. Because also you've got Trey Hendrickson with neck stinger. Did practice both days as of now when I'm recording this on Thursday. Friday's usually an easy day. I expect he'll continue to go. Looks like Hendrickson will be ready. But, let's not keep asking Hendrickson to save the defense every time. Myles Murphy coming out, we're talking about a young guy with size, length, and good speed. And yeah, he's not the most agile guy around the corner. He was never the best pass rusher. I don't know if he'll ever turn into a Pro Bowl pass rusher. Maybe he will, but he was always a developmental pick. And now here we are in year 2. That development and the test is now. Let's see it. I'm ready to see him. If he is even marginally better than last year, he's instantly their second best pass rusher on the team. And really, they've got nothing right now. The Bengals right now rank at the bottom of the league in sacks, tackles for loss, passes defense, forced fumbles, interceptions, impact plays, splash plays on defense. The Bengals are at the bottom. They don't have enough playmakers on that side of the ball. They have a talent issue, but a lot of the talent has been hurt, especially on the defensive line between Myles Murphy, Cam Sample for the entire year. Osai just never came to fruition. I mean, maybe it was the injuries in previous years to stay with the theme of injury. But then Chris Jenkins, he's out there with a club on one hand. I'm excited to see where he goes from here. He has flashed enough the first 2 weeks, his last 2 weeks that he played. And then McKinley Jackson will be the other one. So if Murphy is starting, and I expect him to at the very least have a big chunk of the defensive end plays and be the nickel pass rusher, edge rusher, even though I don't know how much they'll get in the nickel this week, which we'll touch on. He'll be out there a ton. And I expect Myles Murphy I expect him to be solid and be an upgrade. I hope he's good. And that's how you get this defense to another level. Defensive tackle, though, has been a major issue for them. BJ Hill has practiced this week, limited, but it sounds like he's inching closer to going. Sheldon Rankins not there yet. Could be another week or two, which stinks. They spent money on him. He's supposed to be their next best pass rusher on the defensive line, and we just have not gotten it yet. But that leaves Chris Jenkins, who, like I said, has flashed, and we'll have to see where that goes. And then you have McKinley Jackson. And maybe it's not this week. Maybe it's not next week. Maybe it's the full 21 days, but it seems like he's getting close. And that's a talent upgrade. Both Jackson and Jenkins are talent upgrades on the defensive tackle room. Guys like Jay Tufele, Zach Carter, Lawrence Guy, while they have contributed this year, they've also, and I'm trying to be nice by saying contributed, they've contributed to the bad and poor play run defense as well. I don't know if those guys make a roster if Jenkins and Jackson are healthy. At least two of them aren't on the roster if those guys are healthy and playing all of camp and then ready to go week one. So we'll see when that is for Jackson, but help seems to be on the way. Ideally, you get BJ Hill, Sheldon Rankins, Chris Jenkins, McKinley Jackson. While I don't expect the world from the young guys, and I don't even think BJ Hill and Sheldon Rankins are great players. I think they're good players, solid at the least. That is still a major upgrade from the other guys that have been playing in that spot. And somebody's inevitably going to say, well, the defensive tackle room hasn't been that bad this year. They haven't been terrible against the run. Even though they're giving up a lot of yards, they've been down. All of these things are true. And even when you watch the tape, the defensive tackles individually under a microscope, under the spotlight, are not playing that poor. What it means to defend the run a lot of times is just effort, right? We know that tackling, which has been poor, effort's been fine, tackling's been poor, but also how many bodies can you commit to the run game? Can you have a man for each gap and make it hard and have an unblocked defender for the running back and you make the tackle and you rally and gang tackle and you finish it off, right? If you have to commit an extra guy to the box, a safety, bring them down into the box, well, now I have less guys in coverage, right? If I'm so focused and I'm exposed, I can play action, suck the linebackers up. I only got one safety. We're hitting shots down the field. And we know the pass rush hasn't been there. Those things are tied together, the run defense and the pass rush. Because now if we're heavy run defense focused because you're able to run the ball on us, well, now the play action comes. Now the quick passes are coming. And we're killing the pass rush. We're killing the morale and the psyche of those guys that just want to tee off on their tackles or on their offensive linemen and get to the quarterback. When you can't do that, when you're solely focused on the run and you have to read run first and realize, oh, it's a pass. Now I got to do something. It's too late. You know, you're not going to get there in time, especially if the talent isn't there. Hendrickson, the talent's there. But everyone else, you're not getting anything out of them. I mean, you have 0 pass rush wins for Zach Carter this year, and he's been the guy they've put out there the most as a pass rushing defensive tackle. We saw some changes on the film episode. We saw them go out there with all defensive ends one play. It was Cedric Johnson, Sam Hubbard, Joseph Osai, and Trey Hendrickson on one play. Just 4 defensive ends. These defensive tackles can't rush. We'll go with all defensive ends out there. I'd love to see that again. Take Cedric Johnson out, put Myles Murphy in. I'd like to see it. I hope we will see it. Maybe that could be fun. That's how you elevate maybe some of the pass rush on this team. Maybe you won't be a good run defending team this year. And while I say that, it's because I believe you cannot be considered a good run defending team if it requires you adding an extra player to the box. If you're +1 in the box, you better be a good run defending team. If you're not, you're a bad run defending team at that point, even if they're only getting 4 yards per carry, 3.5 yards per carry, because now you're exposed on the back half. So to me, when you have to add extra bodies, and the Bengals have been doing this, not only does it leave you open to just one single high safety, and now Cam Taylor-Britt's getting beat, Taylor-Britt's getting beat off the line, getting beat with ball skills, getting beat deep. You don't feel as confident with Mike Hilton in coverage. You got packages where you're putting DJ Turner in there, which may be a benefit, but Jermaine Pratt's getting beat in the passing game because of the play action, and they're running away from him. It's not ideal. And you need that extra guy in coverage. You don't have Jesse Bates back there with that range to cover that up. You don't have DJ Reader to count for 2 players because you have to double team him. You don't have those guys, so you're bringing an extra guy in the box or more. And so to me, we need to get to the point where the defensive tackles are causing enough havoc. The talent is elevated on the defensive line, because even with Hendrickson, he's not a good run defender. Like, let's be honest, why people don't think of him as a top 5 edge player, it's because you got to play the run a little bit, and he's very average at best on his best days, and sometimes a liability. So I think talent and help is on the way. Does that mean they could turn into a top 10 unit? I do not think that. I don't think they have enough playmakers. I don't think they have enough elite talent. They have one guy, Trey Hendrickson. That's it. I think Logan Wilson's playing very well. I think Geno Stone can be very good. I think Cam Taylor-Britt and Dex Hill can be good. I think Mike Hilton's one of the best slot corners in the league, but he's an elite talent, right? Is he going to cause turnovers and interceptions? He's never had the ball skills like that. He's never been that kind of guy. He's a great tackler, blitzer, leader, fun guy to have on your team. We need somebody who's going to force chaos in the backfield, penetrate, get back there. Who's going to make a play? Who's going to force a fumble? It's usually like Jermaine Pratt, right? Who's going to recover a fumble? It can't be Pratt forcing it and recovering every time. Who's going to get their hands on the ball? Is it Geno Stone? Where are you at? Where are those 7 interceptions at? Get your hands on a pass, Dex Hill. A couple pass breakups. Let's get an interception. We've seen Cam Taylor-Britt come down with some. How about, well, I brought up Mike Hilton, but Mike Hilton might not play this week. 2 days now he hasn't practiced. Is that DJ Turner? Is that Josh Newton in that position? Not sure. One of those guys. Can we get a little bit better in coverage and get your hands on a pass? And then can we get a tackle for a loss? Can one of these linemen knife through there? Can a linebacker knife through there, maybe on a run blitz, and hit a guy in the backfield, not let him spin out and squirt out and gain a few afterwards? There's nothing worse than that. So, yeah, the defense is going to have their hands full with Lamar Jackson, with this offense, with Isaiah Likely, with Derrick Henry, who I thought Derrick Henry was going to be spent this year, and he's not. I thought he was too old. He's not. He's still good. Can still rip one off. Can still take one to the house. It's going to be a fun game. It can be a statement. I think this is a type of game the 2021 and 2022 Bengals would have risen for, would have got up for, and would have made a statement at home against a division rival opponent. I'm excited to see if they can do it again. I'm hopeful. It would be nice. It would be the team we expected to see. And if it starts week 5, let's do it then and make a run from there. I'm Joe Goodberry. This has been Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. Have a good weekend. We'll see you on the Jake and Joe post-game show after the Bengals-Ravens game here on the First Star Media YouTube channel. Until next time, Who Dey?
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.